Good afternoon, Spurs fans everywhere, and you're very welcome to another joint broadcast between THFC Till I Die, the home of Tottenham past, present, and hopefully we've got a future, and Spurs Between the Lines, hosted by the lovely Mia, who's joining me today on this joint podcast. So how are you today, Mia?
Yeah, not so bad.
Good. There's not a lot of news coming out. In fact, there seems to be nearly a news embargo on Tottenham at the moment. I think over since maybe Friday evening, there's been nothing at all coming out of the club, which we can take that up a couple of ways. One, things are at a stalemate, or things are moving so quickly and everyone's keeping their mouth shut until it's actually completed. But what we hope to do today is we're just going to take a quick rundown on the resumes and the history and the careers of three of the potential candidates, if there is such a thing. I mean, Conte is still our manager at the moment, so this is all surmising that he does leave the club. And we're going to discuss the controversial Julius Nagelsmann, who sacked his Bayern Munich coach during the week. We're going to have a quick look at the one of the outsiders, but one who's got a very, very good track record is Arne Slot, the Dutch man who manages Feyenoord. And also one of the potential candidates that's been mentioned over the last week or so, Luis Enrique, the former Spanish manager who also played for Barcelona and Real Madrid, which is rare enough, and managed Barcelona among others. So we're going to have a look at their careers and see whether they'd be a fit for Tottenham. So, Mia, out of those three now, who would be your favourite?
I still would go with Nagelsmann. I think now he's become available, I think he fits Tottenham really well because of the fact that he likes youth, and he likes to play the youth as well. I think that's obviously something that we have been known for in the past. So
yeah, that's very true. And just before we get into the discussion, I'm just going to welcome a few people into the chat here. And I'm going to start off with Swymaster. And he says Conte comes back next week. Training starts for Everton. Tottenham stay quiet. Conte pre-match interview blames it all on the press speculation, and his words English not so perfect. Carry on till next summer. You know, that could well be the scenario. We just don't know because of the silence at the moment. Whether there's a sort of an impasse been reached between Conte and Levy over the amount of compensation being paid, I just don't know. It's something that hopefully will resolve itself pretty quickly, because we don't like this uncertainty. We really want to know what's going on, who's going to be managing our club from now on, or is Conte with us till the end of the season? And it's not a great situation to be in, you know. But thanks for that comment. And also, I think it's just saying press misunderstanding, not speculation. Well, the press will always speculate. I mean, if there's nothing to do, they'll just make something up and put it in.
I think what he's trying to say is that's what he meant, that he thinks Conte's going to say. But how can you misinterpret what he said? I think what he said was very, very clear. I think he'd be very foolish to try and say that's not what he meant, because we all know what he meant.
Yeah, I think it's been every word he's spoken has been analysed over the last 8 or 9 days to the nth degree, and there was no misinterpretation. He meant what he said, and but I think what none of us can really figure out is why he said it when he said it. I mean, surely, if you can believe the reports that were coming out, he actually went straight into the press room, didn't go back to the dressing room after the Southampton match, where you think he would have absolutely nailed the players to the wall for the second half performance there, but he didn't. He went and spilled his guts out to the press, and that was totally unprofessional. And I think that's more or less been accepted by a lot of people. He shouldn't have done it. Like we can't disagree with what he said, but there's a time and a place, and that was not the time or the place to do it. And I mean, I still think that there's a get-out clause in the contract for coming out like that Levy will be able to reduce or completely eliminate the amount of compensation paid because of the outburst that he made. He's bound to have broken his contract somewhere. By saying all that, you know. The next couple of comments is I think it's just a follow up. Really, Mia, you were asking there, was there a full article on it? And he replies, no, it's all his own opinion. It's one of many no articles. So anyway, let's move on a bit. We're just going to have a quick look at the controversial one, put it like that. This guy seems to have divided opinion among Spurs fans, whether we want him or we don't want him, and it's Julius Nagelsmann. Now, just to give you a bit of background on Mr. Nagelsmann, he was manager. He's only 35 years of age. His soccer career finished at the age of 20 due to injury, and he did a degree in business and also sports science since then. He became manager of Red Bull Leipzig, and Bayern Munich paid a world record fee of 22 million to buy out his contract in 2021. So they obviously saw something in the guy, you know. Now, he said last year he separated from his wife of 15 years. They have 2 kids. And what he did next is probably what caused maybe his demise at Bayern Munich, or one of the things that caused his demise at Bayern Munich. He got involved in a relationship, or still is in a relationship, with a sports journalist called Lena Wurzenberger, who works for a German sports newspaper called Bild, B-I-L-D. And I think what happened there is once he got involved with this lady, the Bayern Munich players began to think anything that was said in the dressing room was going to end up as pillow talk and end up in the papers the next day. And it caused quite a bit of grief amongst the Bayern players. And that's one of the reasons I think that there was tension over the last few months. And the tension was also added to when he came to the club first. He got rid of the goalkeeping coach, who had been at the club for a number of years, 10 years, I think, without referring the matter to Manuel Neuer, the present goalkeeper for Bayern, who would be one of the more senior players in the club. And Neuer is supposed to have thrown a wobbler over this and didn't really get on with Nagelsmann since. So that's the kind of the history of the guy. That being said, I can't get over this fee that Bayern paid 22 million, and then they just sacked him summarily and brought in what's his name, Thomas Tuchel. But it appears they've listened to the players. And again, Mia, is this another case of player power winning over to the detriment of a good manager who hasn't really even got going with Bayern yet?
Yeah, you could see it that way. I think they're quite hard-nosed, aren't they, over in the Bundesliga? They're quite, if a player doesn't do well, they will just go, you're gone. Because if you think he's only actually lost 3 games this season, so it's not like horrific. Because they're behind Dortmund, that's why he got sacked. Because that one point when they lost their last game meant that they were, or it was a point difference or something, that, that's what made the difference to them. So, because it's very competitive between 2 clubs, I think that makes them, they're quite harsh in their sacking. They will just sack someone if they don't think it's going right. But he has won trophies. The other thing people are saying, oh, he hasn't won stuff, but he has actually won trophies. He's not highly decorated, but he definitely has won them stuff. So yeah, I think that it maybe could have been a bit of a leap to kind of do that, but they'll find out if it was a mistake if Tuchel doesn't do anything else with the club. I suppose if they don't do well, then they obviously might think they made a bit of a mistake.
Yeah. Well, my reading on it is I think that the Bayern may have got wind that Thomas Tuchel was on the short list to come to Tottenham, and they'd obviously. I don't think they meant to sack Nagelsmann at this stage of the season, because I don't think that was their plan. I think they're going to wait till the summer. But obviously, if Tuchel took the Tottenham job, Tuchel has moved to live in Munich. It strikes me as when he was expecting this to happen at some stage. So even though he might have been in for Tottenham, he might never have accepted the job, knowing this one was coming along. But Bayern's next game is against Borussia Dortmund, as far as I gather. So that's going to be an absolute cracker of a game, for him to start off his managerial career at Bayern. And another interesting thing is too that because it's the international break, Nagelsmann was actually on a skiing holiday when he got the word that he was sacked. So they and then they brought him in the next day and informed him officially. So that's Nagelsmann. I mean, to be honest with you, his style of football might not be totally 100% detached from Conte's, but he's more flexible, I think. And I think flexibility is something that Conte could never achieve at Tottenham or any club. And and I suppose the other thing to bear in mind is, does Nagelsmann want to get back into the game as quickly as this immediately? Or does he want to take time to take stock of things, wait to see if there's anyone else want him? Like, look at this thing. Real Madrid is coming up in the summer. So he could be another candidate for that. So while I think most of us, well, at least 50% of Spurs fans will welcome Nagelsmann in. And I think if he does come, we've got to give him a chance. I mean, he'll come in against the backdrop of dealing with Daniel Levy, which is not easy, as Jose Mourinho and numerous other managers will testify to. But if he wants a challenge, he's completely new to the Premiership. He'll have no baggage to bring with him. The players in the Tottenham dressing room won't have to worry about the girlfriend spilling her guts to the press unless she gets a job with the Sun or something when she comes over here. So that's the way I would look at Nagelsmann. He'd be my favourite of the three to come, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. And I think Harry Kane is reported to be a big fan of Nagelsmann's, and that could have a knock-on effect as well.
He's actually a fan of Kane because he was trying to get Kane actually over to Bayern when he was being looked at to be sold when Man City apparently put the offer in. So yeah, they did look at him. So actually, Nagelsmann's a fan of his as well.
Good. Yeah, because I think he was going to replace Lewandowski, wasn't he, even off to Bayern Munich or to Barcelona. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so there you are. If it's a double-edged sword, if Nagelsmann's one condition for coming, or let's say one condition, but one of his conditions for coming is that Harry Kane stays at the club next year, that might possibly encourage Harry Kane to sign the contract. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. The next guy, I'm just going to move on. Now, this is a fella I'd never really heard of until last week, to be honest, and I still don't know that much about him. But it's a guy called Arne Slot. I started thinking of jokes about his name there. If Tottenham become a well-oiled team, we're going to be known as the slot machine.
Yeah, or there's other connotations that we could have, but I'm not going to go there as this is a daytime show.
His kids watching. Yeah, so interesting, But he's an interesting character in so much as he's 44, so he's about 9 years older than Nagelsmann. He was manager at AZ Alkmaar before going to Feyenoord. He's contracted to Feyenoord until June 2025, so he's two and a bit years to go left on his contract. Last season, he finished third in the Eredivisie, that's the way you pronounce the Dutch league, and got to the final of the European Conference that we were knocked out of by COVID last winter. And they lost 1-0 in the final to Jose Mourinho, Roma. His win record is 59.46%, which is slightly more than Nagelsmann. Nagelsmann is 56%. So that's a very good win record. He plays a possession-based passing game. So that's a pressing game. So that would be, something we'd like to see. And he's known as the next Dutch Johan Cruyff, which is no mean reputation to have, seeing how good Johan Cruyff was. But one of the most interesting things I've found out about him, and I was saying this to me a few minutes ago, I don't know how this would go down well at Tottenham. One of his coaches at Feyenoord is a certain Robin van Persie, who, as we know, played for some team down the road whose name just escapes me at the moment, So if he was to come along to Tottenham as a coach, I think that might cause a little bit of aggravation here and there. So what do you reckon there? Would they be booing him if he came like they booed?
I think they'd be lynching him. I don't think it would even be booing. I think he'd get lynched. I don't think he wouldn't even get into the stadium. Can you imagine? I wouldn't want him sitting on the Tottenham stuff. It'd be like tainting it. It'd be like diseasing it.
Yeah,
no.
I can imagine if Slot does become one, contract talks go down to the wire, and Daniel Levy says, "Right, we'll take you, son, but there's no way we're taking your coach." He has to stay where he is, Yeah, I can't see Van Persie coming along, but Slot's football with Feyenoord is good. It's good. It's good attacking football, and his name has really come out of nowhere. I mean, do you know much about this guy, Mia? Have you ever really heard much about him?
No, I actually know very little about him, very little. So, yeah, I'm intrigued from what you told me so far. But the fact that he's one of these people is that person makes me just be like, nah, not for me. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, it might be like, obviously, when managers come, they don't always bring their entire coaching staff with them, And I think that's one guy that will not be coming. But as a player, Slot didn't really play. He played for kind of the lesser teams in Holland. And we all know the Dutch league isn't as strong as the Premiership. If anybody saw the way Holland played against France the other night, you can bear that up because they were pretty awful. So they were, got beaten 4-0 by France. So, he would probably be, of the three names that we're going to talk about today, I think he might be the outsider. But again, he's no baggage. He can come into the Premiership. And I'm looking at what Ten Hag has done at Manchester United. If someone came into Tottenham from Holland and did that, I don't think any of us would be too concerned. We'd be glad to see it, because I think most of us, what we want is we want a manager that plays Tottenham-style football, which is on the front foot, attacking team, not sitting back and waiting to be on the counter attack, So, and just before we move on to the last, Luis Enrique, there's just a bit of other news, and this is probably pretty, this was always going to happen. The reports are out now that Tottenham are going to allow Hugo Lloris. They're going to sell him on for a small fee during the summer, providing we've got a replacement in, obviously, before the last year of his contract, because they don't think Hugo it wouldn't be fair on the guy to sit as a replacement or as a backup goalkeeper to whoever we signed in the summer. So it looks like Hugo Lloris could be in these last few matches at Tottenham, and I mean he has been a fantastic servant to the club, and I think we can't complain. And he is back in training and played a practice match during the week, so it looks like he'll be back in goal for us against Everton next weekend. Or Mia, do you think that Fraser Forster has earned to keep his place?
I think that Forster should stay personally. If Lloris is going to go anyway, I think that Forster has done really well. I think that I think he sometimes maybe could do slightly better, but I think that Hugo makes massive mistakes where I don't think that Forster has made any of those big mistakes. And I think everybody's calmer. I think the whole back line is much calmer with him in the nets, definitely. I think between the sticks, he's definitely calm. He's that calm influence. No, like when he passes the ball out, he doesn't make those stupid mistakes. He's not, and he doesn't kick the ball. If he kicks it long, he kicks it to our players. He don't aimlessly kick it. Where Lloris does do those things more and more. So yeah, I'm not really. I think that he's earned his place personally.
Yeah, I've been trying to agree with you. I think Forster is 6'7". He's a big lad and he commands his area a lot better than Hugo. Plus, as you rightly say, Hugo's distribution is probably his weakest point, and Forster's is very good. So I would actually keep Forster in the team. He's done absolutely nothing wrong and doesn't deserve to be dropped, But again, we'll have to wait and see. It depends whether it's Ryan Mason and Stellini in charge on Saturday, or whether Conte comes back during the week for this long-awaited powwow with Daniel Levy. We just don't know. We just love if the club will come out and make a statement. Because at the moment, they're treating the fans like we don't even exist at the moment.
Yeah, no, I understand. Should we get some of these comments as well, Philip, because they're building up a little bit.
Yeah. Will you read them out there from your side, Mia? You read them out.
That's me. Don't talk about me. Brian Maguire here says, I'm past caring what happens now. Fans are split. I would gladly see Enoch and Levy are gone. We'll never go anywhere until they are here. I think as long as they're here. I understand that your point of view, and I think we need someone in at the top that wants the best for the club. However, I don't believe they're going anywhere anytime soon. So I think that we have to think about it in that way and sort of not accept it, because if you wish to protest, you should protest. If you want to go, and say Levy out, absolutely. But I just don't think they're going to go anywhere anytime soon, if I'm completely honest. Swim Master here says, can Nagelsmann speak English? It helps. I'm not entirely sure. I think someone said the other day that he can. Do you know, Philip, if he can?
I think he can. Yes, I think so.
Yeah, and I thought that. I would bring in Tim Sherwood as a youth development coach, Brian Maguire says here. Okay, that's interesting. Tequila 316 says, hello, guys and girls.
How are you?
Good afternoon. I hope that you're well. I can see Conte staying until the end of the season. I don't think Levy wants to pay him out after his comments. I said that. I think that they might leave him on gardening leave and get Stellini and Mason to do the actual coaching as some sort of compromise. So then they don't have to pay, because this £15 million is where I think where the problem lies. Because if he gets top four, he gets to 15 million. And I think if they get rid of him, he gets to 15 million. So I think that is probably a problem with the money wise. And 15 million, to be fair, is a lot of money. Nasal Man, I think, says Tequila, or Poch, or me. Or me, he says. I don't know about that. I don't know how good you are as a manager.
I heard Pochettino was out in Japan at the moment, so he's out there.
Yeah, he is.
And then
he is with his son, isn't he? He's with his family and his son out there. Wayne Bonner says, afternoon all. Good afternoon, Mr. Wayne Bonner. I hope that you're well. Israel Uncovered said every sane football manager is a fan of Kane's. Yeah, that is very, very true. Tequila made me laugh when I saw this one. Not sure a dirty slot would be a good choice for a manager.
Now keep it clean, Tequila. Keep it clean. Yes, we're just saying we were
Slot.
turning into a slot machine, you know.
Yeah, slots machine. Israel Uncovered said, I don't want Nagelsmann, not experienced enough. Rather have Poch or Mason or the guy from River Plate. The thing I would say about that is that when we got Poch in, was he just not as he's probably as experienced as what Poch was when he came to us, right? So if you gave Poch a chance then, why wouldn't you give Nagelsmann a chance now? Because I just don't think it's the right time personally for Poch to come back. That's my personal thoughts.
I'm the same as that. I agree with you there. I think I'd like to see him back at the club at some stage, but not until the players that were there the first time around have all gone.
Yeah,
it's not fair on either set to coming back. And the thing about Nagelsmann there, a lot of the press coming out of Germany about Nagelsmann is negative because it's probably sponsored by the Bayern Munich players who had issues with him. Like they say he's arrogant and he's this and he's that. You know, maybe he is. You know, I mean, every football manager's got to have a degree of arrogance about them if they want to get places. So I just like to see him win, and let's see how he does in a new environment without the pressures of his own homeland on him, you know.
Yeah, and I think as well people might take the way that he is maybe because people in different cultures are a bit different. And I know a few people from Germany, and I used to go actually to a toddler group with one, and her mannerisms were very different to how we are over here in the UK. And when you look at someone like Klinsmann, his mannerisms, they're very different to how we're probably used to. So I think people might take his maybe standoffishness or his mannerisms as being like that when it isn't. It's just culturally they're just different, if that makes sense.
Well, Germans always have this reputation for being sort of cold and superior. If you know what I mean, you know, it's kind of maybe I'm watching war films, but you know, that's the way they always appear in that sort of way, you know.
But that's what I'm saying. But people might take that as arrogance, but it might not be. It just might be the way that he just is, if that makes sense. You know, I think that might be something you have to think of with managers who have got different personalities and come from a different place to England. So they're not going to be necessarily the same. You know, that they are different. Tequila says, though, thought maybe extra perks for some of the players. I'm not sure what perks he's speaking about. Israel Uncovered says most managers would have a great win rate with that Bayern team in that league. I do get your point, but
there are a few other teams. Like Leipzig. Leipzig have come up, and Union Berlin. There's a few more competitive teams in Germany this season than before, you know. But one thing I like about the Germans, and I've been a frequent visitor to Germany over the years, Berlin especially. I love their efficiency and the way their work ethic. I think that could go down very well at Tottenham. You know, like I know the only German manager he wasn't even German, he was Swiss, was Christian Gross, who did in the last 5 minutes. You know, but I think Nagelsmann being 35, the next job he takes, he will have a chip on his shoulder until he wins trophies because he'll want to prove Bayern Munich wrong.
Yeah. Kem says here, it's down to money once again. Compensation is a big factor what we pay Conte. Yeah, it is a big factor. Understandably, especially if it's 15 million, Philip, you've got to say, you know, it is a lot of money, isn't it? To be fair,
I'd say there's negotiations. There will be negotiations. I mean, I'm sure Conte's lawyers have been on to Spurs lawyers about this, and I'm still of the opinion that outburst at Southampton has, in some form or other, breached his contract. And I'd say he might have talked down the figure he gets at the end because of that outburst. Because Spurs have a strong bargaining chip there that you did something you're not supposed to do, and why should we pay you the whole lot? So we'll just have to wait and see what happens there, you know.
John N says, afternoon, everyone. Hope you're well. Hope you're well too, John. Hope you're good. We have never properly replaced McDermott as a youth development coach. Plus, Sherwood gave Kane his chance. Yeah, that's interesting. That is true.
Yeah. Actually, Tim Sherwood didn't sell. Was asked to sell Kane to Leicester. Didn't sell him.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I'll give Sherwood credit for now, to be honest. But you know, you have to give credit where it's due.
Donovan says here, good morning, guys. Off to the airport. Perfect little listen along. Oh, where you off to? Let us know where you're off to.
Yeah, off to Munich to try and kidnap Nagelsmann for us.
Yeah. Or if you're off to sunnier climates, can you come my way and pick me up and I'll go in your suitcase?
Wouldn't it be lovely?
I'm only small. I'm only little. I can fit in a little suitcase, no problem.
Yeah.
Tequila says, good German managers are all the range nowadays. About time we've got ourselves one. I don't think they're like Pokemon. I don't think you have to collect them all, to be honest with you, Tequila.
Oh dear,
and then the last one is Daniela. Afternoon. Afternoon, Daniela. I hope that you're well this afternoon. I thought I'd just get through some of the comments, seeing as there's quite a few backed up there.
Very good. Yeah. Funny, actually, the comments weren't showing up on my side there for a minute. That's why I wasn't sure there was any. But obviously, thanks for reading those, Mia. Now, just we'll go on to Luis Enrique, right? Who is an interesting character. He's 52 years of age. And he's one of the few players, not few, there's been a few that have done it, but in recent years that have played for both Real Madrid and Barcelona. You know, the way that's a bit like Tottenham and Arsenal there. They just don't kind of mix too well. And he's been a manager. He managed Roma. He managed Celta Vigo. He managed Barcelona. And he's managed the Spanish national team. In 2018, he became Spanish coach, but he resigned the next year for personal reasons. And the personal reasons were his daughter died of leukemia, I think. So that was quite sad for him. But he took back the job once that was all done and dusted and passed. So he was Spanish manager up to recently, after the World Cup. His type of football is very incisive and direct. He moves between a 4-3-3 and a 3-4-3, depending on the circumstances of the match. And Lionel Messi has called him one of the top 2 managers he's ever had as a manager. So coming from Messi, that is, quite a compliment. His win ratio at Barcelona, now this was passed earlier, Barcelona would be, win most things in Spain along with Real Madrid. His win ratio is 76.24%, which I think is pretty good, But then again, you got to take into consideration that was Barcelona, His honours list is he's won La Liga twice with Barcelona. He's won the Copa del Rey, the Spanish Cup, 3 times. He's won the Champions League with Barcelona once. He's won the Super Cup with Barcelona once, and he's won the Club World Championship trophy once as well. So the guy is a proven winner. But do you think he would even be up for the job at Tottenham? Not up for it. Would he be willing to? Like, he's 52. He's won everything. Would he have the energy left for the challenge to come to Tottenham? Yeah.
I don't know. I was really like, before Nagelsmann come up, I was like, yeah, I think he'll be good. But then I don't know now, because I was just thinking, is having somebody who has got such a record again puts pressure to them to win something, and it just hasn't seemed to have worked, with us, because we've had Conte, we've had Jose. I wonder if he's a bit too long in the tooth. Maybe we should go for someone a bit younger.
Yeah,
so I'm not sure. Yeah.
I think. I mean, he's been through a lot. He's done a lot of things. Probably picked up a lot of habits along the way. At that age. And I would take the sort of the warning shot we got with Jose. We thought he was going to do everything for us, and it turns out maybe the experiences he'd had with other clubs just didn't gel when he came to Tottenham. And that maybe would be the same with Luis Enrique. So I would imagine he would probably be the outsider of the 3 of those. And there are other candidates. I mean, I even heard Vincent Kompany's name mentioned in dispatches over the last couple of days. And while Vincent Kompany, I think, will be a great manager, it's probably a little bit too soon. He's a little bit too inexperienced to come from Burnley to Tottenham. But he will be a good manager in the Premiership, I've no doubt. So, and there's plenty of other names you mentioned. I even saw last night that Newcastle are considering bringing in a world-class manager. So that leaves, what do you call him? The guy I can never think of his name.
Howe.
Could be available. Well, so there's going to be a whole managerial merry-go-round coming up shortly, I think. And as long as the right one.
I think they'd be very foolish to get rid of Eddie Howe, because I think he's got you to that point. Like, to get rid of him now, I think would be a bit foolish, in my opinion.
Absolutely, they'd be mad. But you see,
they'd be crazy to do that.
See, this is the problem. I don't want to go into a rant about the Saudi Arabians owning Newcastle, but that's why. It'll be a bit like the Watford guy. He sacks his manager. Watford have had 11 managers in the last 4 years. You know,
Yeah.
Eddie Howe doesn't get Newcastle into the Champions League this season. I reckon he will be sacked because they'll want to bring in. They could want to bring in someone like Luis Enrique. They could be looking at Nagelsmann. They will be moving up to sharp. Poor Eddie Howe to be the one that will pay the price for that. You know, but we're going to have to wait and see because this is. I think the waiting is what's killing us at the moment. It's bad enough having no soccer this weekend, no club soccer, without having to you're scratching the social media every 5 minutes to see is there anything happening, and even in the nose don't seem to have anything going at the minute. A lot of stuff's been rehashed. You know, they're putting out stories that were out 2 weeks ago or a week ago. So I don't know what's going to happen, you know. But just to read the last few comments here.
Yep.
Let's see.
Got to catch them all, said Tequila 316, referring to the Pokemon. Great show, guys. Thanks, Brian Maguire. If you like the show, don't forget to hit that like button. Hit that like button, everybody. It's free, so please can you do that? Dan Davenport says, I want to have Nagelsmann as our head coach. And when Conte goes, Nagelsmann is a Spurs fan. I read somewhere. Yeah, he apparently had one of the replica shirts and he was a big fan of Pochettino's as well.
That will be a help. That will be a help when it comes to negotiations, hopefully. But I think the only thing we have to worry about Nagelsmann is now will he decide to get straight back into it or will he want to take a break? And that
is something.
It could be quite traumatic for a guy to get sacked the way he did. And his head mightn't just be right at the moment until he gets around that. So remember Conte waited a few months after he left Inter before he came back into us, you know. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Tequila here saying, I'm not sure we have one player in our team who can play the Enrique way, the way Enrique wants, Maybe Kane and maybe Benny. I think he meant, it says Benty, but I assume you mean Benny.
Yeah, maybe possibly, you know.
He also says so much change would need to happen. We've got someone here that I've not seen, I don't think, before. Pierre says, we will keep Conte. Who says we don't have Conte? Did Levy say that? Did Conte? Well, I appreciate, obviously, nothing has been officially said. It's been widely reported that he is obviously in a bit of hot water after what he has said. And Conte is only here until the summer. So even if we look for a manager now for the summer, it's still the same situation that we're in. We still need a manager because in the summer, Conte is gone. He's not signing another contract. So to me, it's a bit of a moot point because at the end of the day, he's going to go anyway. So we do need another manager.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Dan Davenport said, Phil Amir, what about De Zerbi has been mentioned for Spurs? What do you think about that, Philip?
Yeah, he's another one that, again, he's a guy, he's only in his first season at Brighton and he's done very, very well, no doubt about it, you know, and I'm sure he has been looked at. But again, you know, you could probably add him to that list of three that we've given and maybe company as well. And I'm sure there's others. So we could be talking to any one of half a dozen managers that want to come. De Zerbi, I'd say, whether it's a bit too soon for him, he mightn't just want to leave. Well, he's done a good job at Brighton, but let's face it, managing Brighton and then moving to a club like Tottenham is a huge leap up for him. Whereas the other guys, okay, Nagelsmann come from Bayern Munich to Tottenham, that's okay, fair enough. A Slot from Feyenoord to Tottenham is even quite a jump up. And Luis Enrique, Barcelona or Spain to Tottenham is fairly okay. So whether he feels he's up to the job or not, I'm sure he thinks he is. Whether Spurs think he's up to the job, that's probably the main thing. So again, it could be an outsider. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, no, I agree. And also, I think because he hasn't been at Brighton long, I don't know if he'll leave Brighton, if I'm honest. I think that he's got it quite good at Brighton at the moment. So I just don't think he will, to be fairly honest with you. Kem here says, proven winners don't really mean much as we break all the winning managers that come to us. Yeah, I think winning managers, we've tried it and it hasn't really worked. So we need to go back to what did work, which when we had Poch, which was a bit of an unknown quantity, wasn't he? He was a bit unknown, Poch. So, and that did work. So to me, I'm not against going back to that, if I'm honest. I don't know about you, Philip.
But one thing I don't particularly want, I don't want Ryan Mason in charge till the end of the season. I think that we counter. But I'd like to see if we're going to make an appointment that they make it now, so we get a bit of a bounce on the new manager. Like we need a bit of a bounce. The team is in a bit in the doldrums at the minute because of what the reaction to what Conte said. It's going to be so interesting to see how they react next Saturday against Everton. That's really going to be interesting. And if we lose that game, then we're going to be out of the top four, because you can be sure Newcastle or whatever, Liverpool coming up behind, won't let us get away with too much. So we have to start winning matches straight away. And hopefully the team morale is good enough. But that's what a new manager can give you, to give them the boost. But again, it's up in the air. We'll have to wait and see what happens. And this could be a long week. That's what I'd hope it would be done by this weekend, but this could be a long, long week.
The disabled team says, "Hi, Philip, Amir, and everyone in the chat. Hope you're well. I hope that you are well as too."
I should just say that I was talking to Dermot there this morning, and Dermot, as you're probably aware, Dermot's partner's mother passed away yesterday morning, and the funeral is tomorrow, it's Monday. But Dermot will be stepping back from the channel for a few days, obviously, while they get over the funeral. So he's very appreciative of all your good wishes. It really means a huge amount to him at a time like this. And, he will be back as soon as possible. But thank you for all the kind comments, and he asked me to pass that on.
Yeah, we did pass them all on to him. And of course, our thoughts are with him and his family right now. It's such a difficult time, isn't it? It's such a difficult time. So we're obviously all thinking of him at this moment. Yeah,
that's it. So I think that, Mia, unless we have anything else, there's tequila, just Frank Lampard as manager, Steve Gerrard as
have you been drinking tequila this morning? Tequila? Because I think
namesake there, I think, for the day. I mean, I saw actually Steven Gerrard yesterday played in a friendly match at Anfield for Liverpool greats against Celtic greats, and you want to see the reaction he got from the Celtic fans because of his Rangers associations, So
a few more comments. Mick says here, "Big up Tequila, big up Mick. Hope that you're well." A question here from the disabled team is, "Why is top four so important? It doesn't guarantee trophies, Philip." So
no,
what would you answer to that?
It guarantees European Champions League football and the revenue that can bring it. I mean, that can bring us over 100 million in revenue over the season. So it's like trophies are lovely, but it appears to me that Levy's ambitions stretch more to top four and have done for a while, because that is where the money is. I mean, you win the FA Cup, you get a couple of million of a bonus. You get to the latter stages of the Champions League, that's multiplied by 50 times. And that's why they want to get it. I think a lot of us would love to see a trophy. To hell with the money it brings. So all we want to see is the trophy. We want to see the team coming down the high road on an open top bus, because it's so long since that happened. But the top four is important. I think any manager of any supporter of any club near the top of the Premiership will tell you that.
Yeah, no, of course it is important. Swim Master here says the Everton game on Monday, so could be a very long week. Yeah, I think that Conte has to come back at some point, and that's when it's going to be resolved, in my opinion. Obviously, I don't know. We know a week on Monday yet.
Yes, I forgot that we could actually be out of the top four at that stage.
Yeah, we could be. Tequila here says, "Well wishes, Dermot. We'll pass those on, of course." And he also says, "Always, Mia, I'm a Spurs fan." Yeah, being a Spurs fan does drive you to do a lot of crazy things. That is definitely for sure.
It is, surely. Yeah.
Mick says, "Well wishes to Dermot as well." Again, we will pass those on. Absolutely. Thank you for everybody. We do really appreciate your well wishes. And Swim Master here says, R.E. Mason, he must have gained more experience, especially working with Conte since his last go at it.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. He's done his badges, but I still don't think he's probably experienced enough, because he's not worked as a full coach. So to me, he needs to go and do that elsewhere personally before I would trust him with a big job like Tottenham, because it is quite a big job. So personally, I think he's still inexperienced enough on his own to manage a team. So yeah, I think it is too soon for Mason. Absolutely.
I agree with you totally there. No, I agree with you totally. I mean, he's a good lad to have in the background, but not on the foreground, not on the public eye. Let him do his work on the training ground, and let somebody else manage the club or coach be head coach. So right, I think that's it. Mia, do you want to just say when you're on live again next, or on your next pre-record for Spurs Between the Lines?
My next live is actually tomorrow at 8:45 a.m. on Greenwich Mean Time, which we're now +1. We actually lost an hour today. I woke up confused on what the time, and then I looked and I was like, oh yeah, the hours, isn't it? We've changed, because I looked at my phone and was a bit confused. But yeah, obviously, I will be doing that, and then I do release other videos and my shorts as well, guys. If you could all go over, they're literally mostly 10-20 seconds. If you can go give them a watch and a like, they really push out then to the algorithm, and again, that's all really important for all the content to be pushed out. So if you could all go and do that, I would really appreciate it. And also share the channel, share this channel, these videos on my channel and on THFC Till I Die, because it all helps again with the algorithm. So absolutely do that for both of us. If you're watching it on mine, go over to THFC Till I Die, find this video and like it. Just that like really does help, and comment and let us know what you think as well in the comment section below once we stop being live, because again, that all helps push it out to the algorithm. So if you could do that on both of the channels, that'd be really, really helpful.
Yeah, mate, you said it all then, mate. I don't have to say a word. You said it all. And again, hitting the like button is the main thing, you know. And this, I don't know, this is a kind of a funny week when there's no Premiership during the week. We will be coming on as news develops over the managerial situation at Tottenham. So probably be something on tomorrow. Mia, as she said, is on at 8:45. We'll probably be on at some stage later on in the afternoon tomorrow, because I'm actually heading to Dublin tomorrow to watch the Ireland versus France European qualifier. So I'm looking forward to that. I'd say I'd be watching it with my head in my hands most of the time, the way France played the other night, but you never know. You never know. And so that's it. Listen, thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. Mia, thanks once again for co-hosting this. It's been a pleasure as always. And we'll see you all soon. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.